24-year-old musician Cassie from London has suffered with a bad body smell for as long as she can remember.
If I can smell a smell in the room, I immediately think it's me, and I'll immediately kind of panic if there's a lot of people in the room. And it's made me quite paranoid.
It was just a really, really bad odour, and I couldn't work out what it was. I thought she was sick at first, actually.
A lot of the time people just think, oh, maybe you're not clean, but you can be the cleanest person in the world and you will smell like you haven't had a shower in weeks.
And even worse for Cassie, her smell is not typical stale sweat.
Whenever you go to a fish market that's just shutting down and there's just that lingering smell of fish that's kind of the end of the day fish that's kind of been sat out in the warm, and that's what I smell like.
Cassie's fishy odour has made her very self-conscious. Although it comes and goes, it affects every aspect of her life.
Because it gets quite hot in the pub, and then we're running up and down, and I'm always quite conscious of the customers maybe getting a whiff of me and being a bit like, oh, what's that? Don't want to go to her. Even when I go to the gym, I'm always very conscious if I'm in changing room afterwards that someone will smell me and think that I stink like rotting fish.
Cassie also sings in a band, where she's often even more aware of her smell.
I'm probably a lot more conscious about it when I'm sweating. So if I'm on stage performing and there's big heavy lights. When you finish a set, when everyone wants to come up and say, hello, that was amazing, really enjoyed that.
Oh, it's so nice to see you as well. I haven't seen you in like,
And it's always a bit awkward when I'm thinking, oh, I hope I don't smell. I hope that's not like their first impression of me, is that I stink.
Normal body odour tends to start around puberty, but Cassie's pungent fishy smell started when she was much younger.
Cassie started sharing a room with her sister when she was 3 years old, and there's 10 years between them, so it was quite tricky at first. And her sister came to me and said, Mum, she smells really bad. What's she eaten? She's just stinks. And at first I was like, oh, you're just being really mean. So I went in, and the smell was definitely coming from her. It was almost like it was coming out of her pores. That's when I started thinking that there really is something not right, and I took her to the GP to find out what was going on.
He was a family doctor that we'd been seeing my whole life, so we knew him. And we talked about it, and the doctor basically didn't want to know about it, pretty much laughed it off, said that this wasn't a real problem and it wasn't a real condition, and it was kind of a thing of, oh, maybe I didn't wash properly, or basically that sort of thing. It was kind of irritating that every time I tried to speak to anybody about it, they didn't really want to listen, and a lot of people didn't believe me.
With no idea what could be causing her to smell of rotten fish, Cassie has had to do her own research.
We kind of looked at all the possible things it could be. I've even looked into irritable bowel syndrome. I've looked into all sorts of things that are kind of similar. It just was so frustrating.
Every body odour is unique and most of the time harmless, but some smells can indicate a health problem. If your sweat smells like bleach, it could point to a kidney or liver disease, while a more fruity smell might signal diabetes. Cassie wants to find out what's causing her fishy smell and has made an appointment with a specialist in metabolic medicine.